Hello YouTube, this is Bruno. Get Good in Technical Minecraft, part 11. And today we'll finally get beacons. So we'll build a fortress farm. But a little task beforehand. I was preparing a redstone box that I have in my ender chest all the time. But one thing that is missing are target blocks. And we need wheat. This is all of our wheat field at the moment. So we'll do a little micro farm from Redizio that will produce a ton of wheat from bone meal. So this is really a tiny farm. And the general idea is that we have a bit of farmland where we'll use a waterlogged stair in the back, I think. And we have 3 dispensers, one on each side. So waterlog this. And this is farmland. And they will bone meal the area here. And what we'll do is we will have a piston on top, and this piston will open and close. And the thing is, whenever the piston opens, this farmland behind it will have light and we can plant something, and whenever the piston closes, the crops will break. We need some fast clock. We can just use an observer clock, and you can actually make this all a bit more compact, but that's alright. So let's say we have an observer looking up, observer looking down. We use redstone dust to power all of the dispensers, like so. And now if we fill them with bone meal, we're already done with the farm. But I will actually use a few hoppers and a few chests to enter bone meal automatically. And I won't really bother with auto crafters right now. At the moment we don't need a lot of wheat. So I'll just use one chest for each dispenser. And we'll have a sticky piston and a lever that can stop the clock. So for example, this would be our sticky piston here. So we can disable this, enable it. Right, so nothing is powered. Now we just fill these chests with bone meal. And Editing Bruno says that of course these dispensers will use the bone meal faster than the hoppers can provide it. So if you fill the chests, just wait a few minutes until the dispensers are full and then use the farm only until the dispensers are empty. There we go. And now we turn on the farm, grab our wheat seeds, aim here and hold right click, and hopefully we'll get wheat. If not, you have to click again. It's a bit kind of aiming thing. There we go. And the wheat comes in. And this will produce enough wheat for a few target blocks, at least. Okay, let's get to the beacons. And we will actually build not a wither skeleton farm, but a fortress farm, which is a design by IanXO4. And it's a peer pressure farm, and you'll see in a moment what that means. So we'll not only get wither skeleton heads, but also blaze rods. But I'll use a slightly different design, because Ian uses a lot of trained dogs, and I don't really feel like finding, taming dogs, breeding them, and wrangling them to the farm. So what we'll use instead are turtle eggs and iron golems. Alright, otherwise the farm is rather simple. So let's jump to creative and have a look at the farm that I prepared. The basic idea is from IanXO4 to use a peer pressure farm. So mobs spawn, but Ian's farm uses wolves to push the mobs. And I don't really want to tame and wrangle wolves. So I created a farm that is a little bit different. And unfortunately it has a bit lower rates, but it will still give enough wither skeleton skulls to craft enough beacons. So the general idea is that mobs will spawn in these lanes, and the wither skeletons will spot these iron golems, while the ziglins or zombified piglins will spot these turtle eggs. So they will walk towards these structures. And blazes can't really be aggroed by anything, but if another mob spawns behind the blaze, the mob will push the blaze into the portal, hopefully before the blaze despawns. So this farm gives quite a large number of blaze rods. wither skeletons will seed these iron golems from 16 blocks. Now, you could adapt this farm and just place some wolves here on the outside, and this would push the wither skeletons to the inside. But as it is now, the Ziglins have a larger range, so if a Ziglin would spawn behind these wither skeletons, it will push the wither skeletons in. I think it's still a very nice concept, and it will give us all of the blaze rods and wither skeleton skulls that we need. I mean, if we AFK for say 2 hours, then we'll be able to craft 50 beacons, which is quite nice. The mobs that go through the portals will go through an overworld bridge, and the portals are cleverly positioned so that all of the mobs come out at this portal here and will be pushed into this other portal. So they will be in the overworld for 15 seconds, which is long enough. And then all of the mobs will come out of the kill chamber portal here. And we also have an iron golem to lure the wither skeletons and a turtle egg to lure the Ziglins, so that they don't get stuck in the end of the portal here. So we'll just have a few blazes chilling, but that's not an issue. And the kill chamber is my own design. So the mobs will just fall onto these cobwebs, which gives the player enough time to kill them using a sweeping edge and looting sword. The drops just fall down, and below, if the player is not here, we have placed powder snow to kill the mobs so that eventually they'll die. And the drops, now we could just have them fall through and have a slime pusher at the bottom, but here I just placed a couple of double speed hoppers here that will pick up all of the loot. Loot falls down and will be moved by these slime pushers over the sorting area. And here we have item sorters and also crafters. So for the bones, we first craft the bones into bone meal, and then the bone meal is crafted into bone blocks. And then of course it goes into a shulker box loader. And we will power these crafters just whenever items come in. So here we have a lightweighted pressure plate, a golden pressure plate to detect items coming in. This enables a pulse extender. This will enable a clock, and the clock powers the crafter. And here we use the fact that we can't craft anything else. Of course, the bones are decompressed to bone meal. And here the bone meal always comes in multiples of 3, so we will never be able to craft white dye. So we just can put them on the clock. And we use the same concept for coal. So the first item filter is bones, the second item filter is coal. For coal, we only have one crafter in here, which crafts the coal to coal blocks. And we use the same for the nuggets to craft them to ingots. So we don't craft the gold to gold blocks, because simply this farm is too slow. You would have to AFK for, I don't know, a day to get a shulker box full of gold blocks. So I will just craft them to ingots, and we can feed these ingots later to do piglin buttering. And of course we have 2 gold filters, so one for the nuggets and one for the ingots, and the ingots go directly into the shulker box loader and the nuggets are crafted up. Then we have a slice for the wither skeleton skulls, and there I have just used a chest. So at a rate of something like 70 per hour, I think a double chest is enough. We don't need a shulker box loader, but I do have a shulker box loader for the blaze rods, of course, because we get quite a lot of them. So that's the sorting area. Here in the back, we use the signal strength independent filters, so we can put in 21 of the renamed filter items and only one item that is here, so we can pick up almost a full stack, which is always helpful if these items come in bunches. I'm not sure if this is strictly necessary here, but it's hardly any more effort than building the regular item filters, so I just got used to do always these signal strength independent item filters whenever I build item filters. The rates of the farm as I build it here are about 60 wither skeleton skulls per hour, along with 900 bone blocks and 800 blaze rods. We can bring the farm to full power by making 2 optimizations. One is to place a few wolves here at the end, which will push the wither skeleton that spawn outside to the inside. And the other optimization is to use a strider pen, which of course you can build right in the lava down there, which is easier, where you hold about 30 or 40 striders this will, in a Soulsand Valley, block the spawning of normal mobs. So you won't get any skeletons spawning here. And these skeletons can throw things a bit off, because the skeletons try to shoot the iron golem and then hit the blazes, and the blazes aggro on the skeletons and whatever. So a strider pen is easily built, and then you'll only get fortress mobs and not the normal skeletons, ghasts and whatever. And you see that we don't get all wither skeletons. So sometimes a few wither skeletons are chilling because they are outside of the range of the wolves. Of course you could add more wolves, but I figured that we get over 95% of the wither skeletons now. So that's good enough for me. With these optimizations the rates are almost doubled. So we get 1800 bone blocks and over 120 wither skeleton skulls, along with almost 1500 blaze rods per hour, which is quite nice. The gold is still rather inconsequential, 300 ingots per hour. But for that we have a gold farm. This farm here is to get wither skeleton skulls, bones and blaze rods. And this is editing chrono. It turns out that we need a bit of non-standard spawn proofing, because hitting Ziglins will spawn in reinforcements. And in 121.1 and lower, this would mean we get some zombies. And 121.3 and higher, this means we would get other Ziglins. The thing with reinforcements is that they don't spawn like normal mobs. So for example, for normal mobs, this block is unspawnable, so you wouldn't get any ghasts or skeletons or whatever here. But reinforcements spawn at the corner of the block and not in the middle. So reinforcements could spawn, for example, on redstone. And this is why we don't use buttons. A lot of nether sorters would just use buttons to spawn proof. But here we use slabs wherever we can. Let's try to block everything here. Like so. You can also use pressure plates on blocks where you can place pressure plates, like here. Now there's one block where mobs can still spawn, and this is this block right here, or the slime if the piston is extended, because the drops have to fall through, of course. If a player is AFK, then this block is too close, nothing will spawn here. But if you fly to or from the farm, it could happen that the mob spawns here, so just take care. Shouldn't be much of an issue, I guess. And I don't think this block is in reinforcement range, so if you run the farm, you shouldn't have any issues with reinforcement spawning here. And here I have prepared everything to build the farm. So we have a redstone box, which I will just keep in my ender chest with all of the redstone materials. One box each for the overworld bridge, for the kill area, and for the spawn area. Of course, we'll have to pick up nether bricks, which we will do in the fortress. So let's grab these boxes and get to work. So gathering and crafting all of the materials took about half an hour, but now we are well prepared. Of course, we need a few ender pearls to get to the nether roof. And the crucial thing is to find a good location. Now, if you want to know more about this farm, absolutely check out Ian Xo4's video. He's one of the masters of his craft. He explains it really well, how it works. So all I did was a small modification to the spawning area and build a storage system. But for this farm, it's absolutely crucial that you find a Soulsand Valley or a warped forest with a fortress in it. So I have once again used Chunk Base. Let's just fly there, it's not far. So we need a nice open space, which is inside the bounding box of the fortress. And the best way to do this is to use mini hut. So here the yellow area is the bounding box of the fortress. We need the bounding box. We don't need these red inner structures. And here we have a nice open space where we don't have to spawn proof anything. So what we can do is use Light Medicar and just try to fit our space in. So the blocks over the spawn blocks, so these under these slabs, have to be in the yellow area in the inside of the bounding box. But otherwise we make it as high as possible. Okay, that's the way to go. So the slabs are just outside of the bounding box, the rest is inside. Now let's move this a bit. Now that looks good. Let's use this area. And now we'll just enable the mob switch and start building the spawning area here. It took less than 3 hours to build the whole farm, including material crafting and gathering. And that's really quite fast. for a farm that gives blaze rods and wither skeleton skulls. Here in the nether we of course started by taking a few of the nether bricks and then building the spawn platforms, adding the portals, adding the iron golems, which is really quite straightforward if you have an iron farm. To spawn the iron golem, just use any temporary block like netherrack between the walls, place at least one iron block on it, remove the temporary block, place the remaining blocks for the iron golems, which are the iron blocks and the carved pumpkins, and the golem will just fall into the space between the walls. Now the portals need to be very precisely positioned so that all of the mobs come out at one side of the overworld bridge and go to the other side. So what you do is you choose any directions. These portals go from east to west, so we choose either north or south. Let's say we use south. And then you take the position of the southern portal, which is this one, and the middle, the obsidian pillar between the two portals, and you go maybe one or two more blocks further to the south. So in this case, let's use this block, minus 1089 and Z 1238, and we multiply these coordinates by 8. And this has to be the coordinates of the first overworld portal where the mobs come out. And the Y coordinates for the overworld bridge is something like 150 or higher, which should work. And the bridge has to go in the same direction, in this case to the south. Otherwise the mobs will come out at both portals. For the overworld bridge, just go through the portal, break the generated portal, go to the precise positions that we just calculated, and build a bridge which is rather straightforward. We need a roof so that our mobs don't get damaged from rain. And once you have built a bridge, go back to the nether and try to go through all of the corner positions of the portals to make sure that all of the positions link to the overworld bridge that we just built. The next step is to go to the nether roof. So just build up, find a block that is at Y equals 127 and enter pearl up. Then once again go to the precise position of the center of our farm and scaffold up, and then use Mini-Hut to find the correct height for the AFK spot. So I use Mini-Hut to create a despawn sphere right where I'm standing, and I checked that all of the spawning area is included in the despawn sphere. So there we go. The corners are not cut. Actually I can go 2 blocks higher, I think, or even 3 blocks higher. Yeah, that's the ticket, that's how we want it. And rather important, nothing else of the fortress is in the despawn sphere, so we have no nether bricks that we have to spawn proof. We don't care about these normal blocks here, because we are in the Soul Sand Valley. Or if you want to calculate it, take the height of the spawning area, which in this case is Y equals 82. So these blocks that form the platform, not the slabs on top. Then add, in this case, 128 blocks. And this is the position of the block on which the player will stand, which are marked with a glowstone. And if you create a despawn sphere here, then you see that we just cut a bit of the corners, which is not a problem, because these mobs are unlikely to be pushed in anyway. Otherwise, all of the area here is spawnable because it's in the despawn sphere. And then you build your favorite sorting system. Of course, if you are pressed for time, you could use the inventory to sort, so don't build any sorting system at all. But I think that the bones and the coal are quite valuable, and of course you get a ton of blaze rods. So I think it's a good idea to invest the 30 minutes or 40 minutes that it costs to build a decent sorting system. And just like that, the farm is done. Took about 2 hours to build, so I turned off the mob switch, and very soon now we should see the mobs coming in. It takes a while until the bridge is filled, of course. So I will start hitting, and I hope I get everything that we need to set the filters, because the filters are still filled with dummy items. So we need bones, coal, wither skeleton heads might be the most interesting ones. So you can of course use FreeCam to check how the farm is operating. So let's just go down. There we go. Looking good. Of course these guys here are chilling. They will only be pushed in if the Ziglins spawn outside there, or if we place wolves later on. There we are. We got a wither skeleton skull. Of course we don't have the beacon yet, because we don't have enough skulls. But this should be only a matter of minutes. Until then we need to step away from the armor stand from time to time and eat, so that we don't die from starvation. Alright, let's set the filters. It's a few minutes later. We got the first 3 wither skeleton skulls. Time to add a beacon. Now, I will try to add the beacon not over the farm. The farm is this area. We will worsen the height map. I don't really care too much about the sorting system because it's reasonably small and the farm isn't perfect anyway, but we can build the beacon until up to 50 blocks away, so we'll do that. Well, this is the end of the episode. I will finish the beacon and AFK a bit here. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you want to see more content like this. Please subscribe so that you don't miss any of my videos, and see you next time. Bye bye.